Hello, everyone. My name's Sophia,
And my name is Hank.
and welcome to You Know Me So Well.
Slade.
Slide. Today, we are talking about living life out of the comfort zone. I feel like living life out of the comfort zone is quite beautiful, and it really can be a very good time. So, today, me and Hank went to an art fair. Oh, also, for reference, we are currently visiting my family. And my town had an art fair, and we went, and we were like standing by the stage, and all of a sudden, the like ballroom, we have a ballroom studio in my town, and like people from the ballroom studio got onto stage, and they were like, all right, we're gonna teach dance class now. And we were like, oh, well, this is kind of awkward for us because we're standing right by the stage. So obviously, like, if we don't get involved, then they're, going to be staring directly at
And they
us.
were like, everyone up,
Yeah.
everyone.
And so we learned how to salsa dance, and it was quite a fun time. We're probably going to end up in the town newsletter somehow, some way. We already made it onto the Instagram, which is always good. But I feel like those moments in life are just so much fun because they're unique, they're different. There's something that you probably wouldn't normally do, and sometimes it's hard to just be like, "All right, let's just do this." But once you get into it, like it's a great moment. It's a great time. We're going to elaborate on that.
I think I'd like to say it's important to note, just to paint the picture, that we were one of probably like five people that actually stood up.
It wasn't like there was like a huge group like a
Right.
flash mob situation.
Right.
No,
And
like
there was a lot of people just sitting down and watching us.
yeah. Every time I would turn, my sister didn't dance. She was like sitting down watching us too. But every time I would turn back to her, I would just see this woman staring at us. And I was like, hello. Hi. So, yeah. Okay. So, living life out of the comfort zone. It is really easy to live in a nice little comfortable bubble, and there's really nothing wrong with it. But I feel like you grow so much when you choose to live outside of that bubble and you push yourself to do things that you would never do. And I guess for us, like creating this podcast is like living out of our comfort zone because, eventually maybe it'll just become part of our normal life. But for right now, like we don't really know what to expect. We haven't even started like posting things yet. We're before our launch date. So it's like, this is all new, exciting, but it's like at the same time, you never really know what's going to come out of it. It could be an amazing experience. And I feel like whenever you push yourself out of your comfort zone, you grow in ways you never expected to grow, and things happen that you could have never ever imagined happening in your life. So when I grew up in a very sheltered bubble. And I obviously didn't realize it until I left home for college, but like grew up in a very sheltered bubble. So I had a nice childhood. But then when I was 15, I did a summer intensive in Arizona at a ballet school called Master Ballet Academy, and I was there for 5 weeks. And this was the first time I had ever been away from home for like an extended period of time, living without my parents. They housed us. It was a really funny housing situation. They housed us in a Homewood Suites. So they housed us in a hotel. And it was like a lot of the dancers who were doing the summer intensive were like local dancers, but there were like a decent amount that were coming from other states. A lot of them were from Florida, a lot of them from California. And so they housed like the out of state students at this home at Suites. And it was like, I want to say it was like maybe at a time like 20 of us. And like, you have to think, these were like 20 kids between the ages of like 12 and 18 running around a hotel like crazy. And for me, like, yes, the dance part was very memorable. I will say, though, this was kind of like the beginning of the end of my dance career. But prior to going to this summer intensive, I was very introverted, or not very introverted, but I was just a very quiet, well mannered child who didn't really like try to push herself to do things beyond what she was used to. During my sophomore, so this was like after my sophomore year of high school, like my friends were all friends from middle school. Like I didn't really venture out and try and make new friends and stuff like that. And then I went to the summer intensive, and like I always thought that it was just me. Like I was quiet, I was shy, I was, you could create a whole list. But I went to this summer intensive and I was in this hotel with all these people, and I became friends with everyone. And I had the greatest time. And it really taught me so much about myself, not just dance wise, but also just like my personality and who I was as a person and who I wanted to be and what I enjoyed doing. And I felt like I was a totally different person at the summer intensive. And when I came back from it, it made me realize like, oh, this is very much achievable. Like, I feel like I'd always wanted to be that kind of person, the person who was social, the person who was outgoing, the person who could just like jump into like making friends and stuff like that. And I'd always thought I wasn't. And from this experience, I realized I was. And that was like, it was definitely out of my comfort zone to be so far away from home, especially at a young age, and to have to kind of figure out how to live by myself, even on the hard days, just like getting through. Like I will say I was very homesick and stuff like that, but like I learned so much about myself, and I actually wrote my college essay about this experience. After that, I really loved the idea of living out of my comfort zone. Like I wanted to just get back into it so badly. But of course I had to go back to my sheltered bubble and finish up high school. And of course, like you have there are always day-to-day experiences where it's like you do stuff that you wouldn't usually do, or you experience things that are new. But I feel like there's really something about having like a more like long-term out of comfort zone situation. So then after that, it took a couple of years before I could have another experience. And my next experience was already once I was in college. My first year of college was remote, and I was on the quarter system. So my second quarter freshman year, I moved to Hawaii. And I went from across the country, like 12-hour plane ride, to living in a house with 6 other UCLA freshmen, none of who I really knew before I moved there. I'd done like FaceTime calls with each one individually, maybe talked to them for like 30 minutes to an hour. And then all of a sudden I moved into a house with them. And it was a crazy experience. And obviously there was good and there was also bad, but it's like how many people can say that they got to live in Hawaii for a period of time during their college experience? Very few, especially like if you can live in Hawaii or spend some time in Hawaii, an extended period of time in Hawaii when you're young, like phenomenal experience. I would definitely recommend it. But yeah, that was like completely out of my comfort zone, like that was learning to live on my own, learning to live with 6 other people of my age, exploring a whole new culture and environment, and, doing school so far away from like the actual campus and all that. So it really was a phenomenal experience. And then I moved to LA, and that was again, like completely at that point, I had made some friends who also moved with me, so it was like I had them. But I remember the first night that I was in Westwood, which is like the college town surrounding UCLA, I was terrified. It was the night of, what is it? The March Madness 8?
Oh, yeah.
The 8 one?
Elite 8?
Yeah. So UCLA was playing this game. Of course, it was a huge thing. Everyone who was in Westwood was out and about. And I knew people, but I didn't know, like I had moved with a really close friend of mine, but besides that, I didn't know anyone. And he like went to go watch the game somewhere. And I just sat in my room, in my university apartment all by myself. And it was just odd. Like the other thing is I moved to Westwood with this friend. Oh, wait, I have to explain. So after Hawaii, I didn't go home. I instead stayed with a friend at his family's home in the Bay Area for 2 weeks. And then right after that, we both moved to LA. And so when I moved, I didn't have like the help of my parents. I was all on my own. I would have to go to Target luckily I had my roommate I was really good friends with, but it was just a weird experience. And I was like, oh my God, what did I just, like, I just ended up here and I have no clue where anything is, like this was supposed to be home, but like, I don't know anything. And I just remember that like first night feeling so isolated because everyone was like out and about and I was just sitting in my room listening to the noise outside. So yeah, LA itself was also major like out of comfort zone experience. So I think at this point in my life, I've had a lot of those kind of experiences. Oh, then I was in New York. Hank was there too, but the very first week I was by myself, and again, it was like I was just walking around the city by myself. I mean, I've been to New York before, but I was like 8 years old at the time, so it's like I didn't really know the city. I was just kind of trying to figure it out. But I think for us, like New York was an incredible experience, and it was very different from the lives that we'd lived in LA or before that. I don't know. I think this just all goes. The reason why I'm telling you all of this is it just goes to show that when you live life out of your comfort zone, so much can happen that you could never imagine happening. It opens the door to so many new experiences. You really grow as a person, like exponentially grow. I feel like you also glow up, but that might just be my experience. But yeah, it is really, it's a really incredible experience. I feel like it's important to challenge oneself and to try and find at least little moments throughout our day or our week where we do something that's different. We try something new, but also just like also having larger scale experiences, pushing ourselves to do things we probably would never do, maybe like taking a new job or moving across the country to pursue something or to go to a school or, maybe picking up a new hobby that you've always been scared to try. Like, I don't know, ballroom dancing. Like, I don't know, go to a ballroom. If you've ever wanted to take like ballroom dancing, like go to a class, show up, try it. You really never know what'll come out of the experience. And even if it's a bad experience, and it's an experience nonetheless, and it's a story you can tell. Oh yeah, the other day I had a not so great out of comfort zone experience where I went to this like business frat event that my friend had been like raving about. She was like, you have to come. Like the people there are really cool and all that. And I went and I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm not supposed to be here. Like I felt so out of place and I just didn't know how to handle the situation. And I was really trying, but like nothing was clicking. But like, I was there for an hour. I came home. Obviously, I was a little like upset about the whole experience, but I came home. I told a really funny story to Hank about how it went, and that was that. And it was an experience. So I just say try it. If you want to do something, try it. If you want to start a podcast, try it.
Yeah, there's no harm in trying.
Yeah, there really isn't.
You're gonna fail no matter what if you don't try it.
Right there, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Right. There you go. Yeah. Hank, you want to add something?
Skydiving.
What about skydiving?
Recommend it to everyone. It's a life-changing experience.
Skydiving is one of those things I don't think I could ever do.
It's incredibly scary before, and it takes you way outside your comfort zone, but it's a magical feeling.
Okay. If you want to go skydiving, do it.
Fuck it. Do it. You'll probably be fine.
Oh, Hank, you'll probably be fine. It's okay. There's only like, the statistic is blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if I can get behind skydiving, but other things, I understand there's always limitations to things. Like, I feel like you'll see like TikToks where it's like, if you want to move to Europe, like just do it. And it's like, okay, first, there's a little planning that needs to go behind it. You also need like the funds for it. You can't have like zero in your bank account and be like, all right, now I'm going to go head to Europe. You at least need to buy a plane ticket. Probably want to have at least something to get you through maybe like the first week or two. But I would definitely say like if you have at least a little bit of a padding with whatever you're doing, go do it. It's like if you're like in a pond, or like you're entering like a lake, like when you start, you're only like ankle deep, and then if you keep going, then you're knee deep, and then you're like waist deep and stuff like that. Like, I think living outside your comfort zone shouldn't be like, I mean, I would say if you really feel confident about something or you feel like it could be a great experience, like jump into it. But if you are feeling a little hesitant about it and you don't really know, you're kind of worried that there might be some like issues that come up once you get into it, maybe like just wait in a little, try it. see how it goes. If, it's going well or if you're enjoying it, I feel like don't give up too easily either. Like, you have to understand that everything takes time. And my sister sent me a TikTok about podcasts, and it's like, I don't know whether you should believe it or not, but it was like talking about how like many times, is like you need to stay consistent with your podcast, because many times like people don't see any success for even like the first year or two. But if you stay consistent at it, like eventually something should come out of it.
And you'll just get better at it as time goes on too.
Yeah, that's exactly. So, oh, and also once you start doing it for a while, it will become comfortable, and it'll be something that you most likely find comfort in.
Right. Like once we, like in a year, hopefully we're still doing these in a year. But I've always thought that like we'll look back on like our very first ones in like a year or two and be like, damn, these were terrible compared to the ones now.
Yeah, because you learn so much along the journey. So yeah, life is beautiful. Try things you've never done before. You might surprise yourself.
There's always something new to do.
And say yes more. Other thing, say yes more. Unless it's something that's like really out of your, like the business frat thing. Like I was really debating it because I just knew that it was really not my thing, and like I most likely wasn't going to find any pleasure in the experience. But my friend was like, like you want to at least say that you tried. And I was like, okay, I mean, I guess that's valid. So I went. But like, say yes to more things.
Like she said earlier, it needs to be somewhat of like a step-by-step progress. If you're going to go somewhere and then like have a panic attack because you're going there, like maybe, don't go. Start with something small. Like lead up to certain things. You know what I'm saying?
I feel like you need to know yourself a little. But still, living life out of the comfort zone is quite a fabulous experience once you get yourself into it. And as much as I love my comfortable, curated life, it's also exciting to try new things from time to time. And I am craving like a new adventure. So, like a new big adventure, not like a let's go salsa dance in front of like, I don't know, 20, 30 people at an art festival.
Well, certainly something.
It was something. I think that might be it for us. I think if you're listening and you're not us, I recommend you do something today that you would probably not do otherwise, or do something that kind of scares you, or do something you've been wanting to do for a really long time that you just haven't gotten to. If
there's something you've always wanted to do, but you're just very scared, and, no one's told you otherwise, let us tell you. You've got it, It's going to be all right. Just do it. Give it a shot.
Go in with an open mind. The worst that can happen is it's just a funny story in the end. So, all right. Thank you for listening to this episode. We'll see you next week.
Thank you. Bye.